Hello, I'm Aubrey. Well, this is a pamphlet about community gardens, but that's not what we're going to talk about today. Let's see some photos we made the past week or so in South Fayetteville. Okay, this is a butterfly, a monarch butterfly, and it's on a climbing milkweed, also known as, it's Matalea baldwiniana. And it's a milkweed vine, or milk vine, some people may call them. These photos are actually made by Jody Nimmo, and she lives in the watershed, or used to at least, have these plants of that climbing milkweed in her yard, and it's in the previous yard, it's in the watershed of Tanglewood Branch. And if you go up and down Tanglewood Branch, you'll find lots of these plants growing in the riparian zone, entangled with other vines, climbing various things. And some of them are 15 feet up in the air. Some of them are actually growing along with Japanese honeysuckle and on China honeysuckle bushes. And they are very beautiful, and they provide for various pollinators. But notice the leaves. They look like a morning glory leaf, a lot like it with that heart shape. And so I think some people who say, oh, I'm getting rid of the non-native plants might cut out this vine, not realizing it's actually a very valuable native species. There are at least 3 native species of milkweed vine in Arkansas. Well, there's a front shot. You can see there's some flowers beginning to peep out of the ground at World Peace Wetland Prairie this week, and by the time, well, we were actually doing this on the 7th of March. There's another vine you should protect, and that's how it looks in March. That's the native honeysuckle vine, and it doesn't strangle any plants or harm anything, so protect those if you find them this time of year. There's the a daffodil, lots of those in Fayetteville in bloom right now. And okay, now we're back to the Matalea baldwiniana. That's the seed pod of one of those plants, and that one's not in Jody Nimmo's yard. Those are my photos of some of the pods hanging way up in the trees there, and you see how many seeds come in those big old fat pods. And if you find those, get some and plant them, please. Spread them along the riparian zone of the stream and in your yard, wherever you've got a place for a little vine to climb. These are real delicate vines. They don't strangle anything, and they're actually very useful, say, for pollinators. That's the riparian zone of the Tanglewood Branch. I'm sorry, that's actually, let's see. No, that's Spout Spring Branch coming down from the lower side of Mount Sequoia and Spring Street. And it joins, you see the debris way up high? That's on the edge of the Walker Park, and that's how high the water gets and leaves debris. You see how yellow, or whatever it looks to you, light brown, tan bottom in the stream there? That's an example of what silt does. When dirt washes out of the embankment or off of a development site, that's what you get. Notice a few green things trying to grow in the riparian zone and keep it vegetated and protect the soil. There's an example of a lot that's had red dirt spread over it. That's a wetland lot. And so I guess hoping they'll get a chance to sell it for development, the owner has spread that red dirt. And there's another such lot, and it's at a different place in South Fayetteville. It's on just between 7th Street and Martin Luther King Boulevard, and it's up the street there. And there's another view of that lot, and that's a raised area where a driveway goes into it, and you can see that on either side it's still low and it has absorbent soil, except where they've piled red dirt and debris. That fill they bring in, you notice it's got all kinds of chunks of stuff. Until next time, this is Aubrey Shepherd asking you to do your part to help keep the water clean, the air pure, and the woods green, and protect your riparian zone. Thank you. Hello, it's Aubrey Shepherd again, and we have some more pictures from South Fayetteville, Arkansas, and let's get right into them. There's a stray dog in my neighborhood. He's been wandering through there lately and causing other dogs to bark and maybe scaring some people. I don't know, but he's not a dangerous dog or she. I don't even know which it is, but I don't know why it gets loose every afternoon from the apartment complex near there and runs amok. There's a man at World Peace Wetland Prairie talking with Lauren Hawkins, who's out there cutting and trimming and so forth. And you've seen him, or at least you've seen his work on this cat station in the past when he filmed some things about streams over off the pig trail where it was being damaged. Anybody recognize that? Well, nobody's in the studio to answer my question, but I bet you don't recognize where that is. Now that is a small stream that comes from Locust Avenue, the south end of Locust Avenue, just behind Advanced Auto and the other building there. And it brings water into the Tanglewood branch just before the Tanglewood branch enters the Spout Spring branch. Anyway, you see that pipe straight across the creek there on the right side of the picture? That's an old sewer. It used to go across there, and it was actually splitting and coming off in the creek. And I showed it to Swifty Reynolds, the alderman, a few years ago, and apparently he got it fixed. They cut it off. And notice that tree is growing on top of an old door or something. It's right on the edge of that flow area. Anyway, they cut off that pipe, but they left it, the sewer work people. And notice the silt that is built up around, washed down to that pipe. And that's from where they dug out to put in the new pipe to replace it, and cut it off and got big machines down. Unfortunately, while they had the big machines in that area, they did not remove the pipe. So it's still there with holding back some silt, but you can't go in there without tearing that up to take that thing out. So the only solution is to plant lots of things like cattails and whatnot that might have a chance to survive when the place is flooded, button bushes and that kind of thing, and just maybe some willows in that silt and try to get it to stabilize the bank there. You can see some other holes where old pipes go through and repair an area, and there's a washing machine part. It's dumped in there. People have dumped in our streams for years and years and years. And some of them are just covered with silt, trees and vines growing around them, and you do so much damage taking them out that it's just better to leave them alone. I do pick up broken glass out of there or pieces of loose metal. Now there you can see some damage I noticed when I was walking down the creek. These big stones were dumped right up against the trees. And then I came around on the street and took a look, and that's an area where they just put a sewer line through there, and you notice the wetland, it's holding some water on the surface, it soaks in that lot. Hope they're not going to fill it all. But why they put stones over in the riparian zone against the trees, broke some of them down, I don't know. We were just in Leaf, or still are in this picture, Leaf Kindred's backyard, and you see the soup branch coming from the west enters through his property. He actually owns property on both sides of the creek. Part of what's on the other side of the creek there, across the town branch, is Sullivan's yard, Mr. Sullivan's yard, but the closest part to the stream, the riparian zone on part of that lot over there, is actually Kindred's property. So you can see what you need to do. You need to keep lots of vines and so forth growing, because Mr. Sullivan's side is eroding out like crazy, because he's for years cut back the brush, and he even had city guys take out some trees along there in the stream that were helping to stabilize the bank. So now it's washing away. You can see how close somebody built a fence there to the town branch, right in the riparian zone. Well, they wouldn't be allowed to do that in the future, but these things are even though that floods up around that fence and up to Mr. Kindred's house, you can see his house there, water gets under it. That hot tub has been destroyed. It's actually been washed several feet from left to right there in some of the recent floods. And now the real bad news in town today on the 7th of March 2011 is that Bruce died. Bruce owned Flying Possum Leather, and his place burned. And the only good news there, his dog survived. But everybody loved his dog, and so many people have known Bruce for decades.